The air hangs thick with salt, the scent of the sea mixing with the weight of anticipation and tension, as the horizon promises both hope and uncertainty. It's September 9, 2025. The BRP Teresa Magbanua, a Philippine Coast Guard vessel, heads for Ayungin Shoal on what should be a routine resupply mission, one of many in a long-standing tradition of service and duty. Suddenly, Chinese Coast Guard and maritime militia ships loom on the horizon, their silhouettes growing larger, blocking the way with an unmistakable show of force. Their message is clear: turn back or face the consequences. The air crackles with warnings, echoing across the waves. The Filipino crew stands firm, outnumbered but resolute, their eyes fixed on the horizon, refusing to be intimidated. This is the new normal in the West Philippine Sea, a daily contest of nerves, sovereignty, and national pride played out on open water. Cameras roll as Chinese ships close in, their maneuvers aggressive and dangerous, every move scrutinized by the world's media. The Filipino captain, a veteran of these standoffs, skillfully avoids collision, refusing to yield an inch, his hands steady on the wheel. His mission is more than delivering supplies, it's about defending the nation's rights, upholding dignity, and showing the world the meaning of courage. The world watches, as every tense moment is broadcast for all to see, each second a testament to the stakes at play. Gone are the days of quiet diplomacy. Manila now meets intimidation with transparency and resolve, speaking out for all to hear. The Philippines has found its voice, backed by international law and a growing coalition of allies who stand for freedom of navigation and justice. Each standoff is a symbol of a nation's awakening, a David standing firm against Goliath, refusing to be cowed by might alone. The waves may crash, the storms may rage, but the Filipino spirit will not break. It endures, stronger with every challenge. This is not just a maritime incident, it's a declaration. The Philippines will not be bullied. Not now, not ever. The story of Ayungin Shoal is now the story of a nation's courage, a living testament to the will of its people. The world is watching, and the Philippines stands unbowed, its resolve shining like a beacon across the troubled waters. For years, Manila relied on quiet diplomacy, believing that strengthening economic ties with China would help ease tensions and foster mutual respect. The hope was that dialogue and cooperation could resolve disputes peacefully, allowing both nations to prosper side by side. But as China rapidly built artificial islands and expanded its military presence, Philippine sovereignty began to erode, piece by piece. The balance of power shifted, and the reality on the ground changed dramatically. Frustration and anger grew as Filipino fishermen lost their livelihoods, forced out of traditional fishing grounds. The nation's territorial claims seemed to fade with every passing year, leaving communities feeling abandoned and powerless. A new administration, propelled by public outcry and a groundswell of national pride, decided it was time for a bold change in strategy. The government's approach shifted dramatically. Now, every act of aggression would be exposed, every encounter meticulously documented and reported. Journalists and cameras now accompany every patrol, capturing not just the water cannon blasts and dangerous maneuvers, but also the courage and resilience of Filipino sailors on the front lines. These powerful images and videos are released to the world, transforming once-hidden struggles into global headlines and sparking international conversations. The narrative is no longer dictated by Beijing. Manila's footage and evidence now tell the real story, challenging misinformation and shifting global perceptions. Assertive transparency isn't just a public relations move, it's a strategic weapon, reshaping the diplomatic battlefield. By shining a relentless light on China's actions, the Philippines rallies domestic unity and draws international support, forging new alliances and strengthening old ones. Every documented incident forces the world to take notice, making it impossible to ignore the ongoing struggle in the West Philippine Sea. The Philippines is no longer a passive victim, but the determined protagonist of its own story, standing tall in the face of adversity. This new approach transforms every act of intimidation into a diplomatic setback for Beijing, forcing them to answer to the world. The truth, once hidden, has become Manila's greatest weapon, cutting through propaganda and rallying support at home and abroad. The world now sees the West Philippine Sea not as a distant regional dispute, but as a crucial test of international law and the global order. The Philippines stands firm, shaping the narrative, challenging the aggressor, and inspiring others to defend their own sovereignty. The Philippines' bold stance on the South China Sea dispute is anchored in a landmark legal victory that reshaped the region's geopolitical landscape. In 2016, an international tribunal in The Hague delivered a historic ruling, invalidating China's sweeping claims in the South China Sea and upholding international law. The ruling affirmed the Philippines' sovereign rights over key features like Ayungin Shoal, reinforcing its position in the contested waters. Initially, Manila set the victory aside, hoping to foster better economic and diplomatic ties with Beijing, prioritizing dialogue over confrontation. But the legal and moral weight of the ruling never faded, remaining a powerful symbol of justice and national resolve. Today, it's the centerpiece of Philippine diplomacy, invoked in every international forum and multilateral discussion on maritime rights. The dispute is now framed not as a simple bilateral quarrel, but as a crucial test of the rules-based international order and respect for global norms. This reframing gives Manila immense leverage and growing global support, rallying allies and partners to its cause. China's continued rejection of the ruling only serves to isolate it further on the world stage, drawing criticism from the international community. Allies like the US, Japan, and the EU now regularly cite the arbitral award in their calls for freedom of navigation and respect for international law. The ruling has become Manila's megaphone, amplifying its voice, legitimizing its struggle, and inspiring other nations facing similar challenges. It's the ultimate source of confidence and unity in the ongoing fight for Philippine sovereignty and national pride. Manila's assertive strategy is built on three pillars: law, diplomacy, and defense. The 2016 legal victory provides the moral high ground. Diplomats work worldwide, forging partnerships and building consensus to isolate China. Joint statements, security frameworks, and coordinated positions strengthen Manila's hand. Meanwhile, the military and Coast Guard are modernizing, not to match China, but to deter and defend. Investments in surveillance, new vessels, and longer patrols make harassment riskier for aggressors. Each pillar reinforces the others: legal arguments, diplomatic support, and credible deterrence. When a Filipino ship is harassed, the world is reminded it's illegal. Allies issue statements, and the crew stands its ground. This integrated approach keeps constant pressure on Beijing. The Philippines is no longer predictable or passive. It's a dynamic, resilient opponent. It's a smart way for a middle power to stand up to a superpower. In today's world, the camera is mightier than the cannon. The Philippines has made transparency its shield, documenting every Chinese provocation. Journalists and high-resolution cameras capture each tense encounter at sea. Viral images of water cannon attacks and near collisions speak louder than diplomatic notes. These visuals dismantle Beijing's narrative and reveal the reality of bullying. At home, this strategy unites the public and fuels national pride. Internationally, it keeps the dispute in the headlines and pressures allies to respond. China faces a dilemma: escalate and suffer reputational damage, or back down and embolden Manila. The Philippines turns its material weakness into narrative strength. By weaponizing transparency, it wins the battle for global opinion. The world now sees the West Philippine Sea through Manila's lens. Knowing its limits, the Philippines has revitalized old alliances and forged new ones. The US-Philippine Mutual Defense Treaty is now front and center with clear commitments in the South China Sea. Japan provides ships, radar, and training, deepening its strategic partnership with Manila. Australia joins joint patrols and intelligence sharing, while trilateral cooperation with the US and Japan grows. European powers send ships to assert freedom of navigation, and countries like India and South Korea voice support. Each exercise and statement adds to Manila's strategic shield. This isn't about containing China, but balancing power and upholding rules. Alliances give the Philippines access to technology, training, and diplomatic backing. Manila is no longer isolated, but a key player in a resilient regional security network. The world stands with the Philippines, making coercion costlier for Beijing. A credible foreign policy needs credible defense. The Philippines is modernizing its military, focusing on maritime security. New frigates, patrol vessels, and soon submarines replace aging ships. Land-based missiles and coastal defenses create a porcupine deterrent. The Air Force acquires fighter jets and surveillance drones for real-time monitoring. The Coast Guard receives larger, more capable ships, like the BRP Teresa Magbanua. These upgrades let Filipino crews patrol longer and document harassment. The goal isn't to match China, but to make any aggression costly and risky. Modernization sharpens the Philippines' trident: Navy, Air Force, and Coast Guard. The message is clear: the Philippines will defend its waters. It refuses to be a bystander in its own seas. True independence requires economic resilience. The Philippines is reducing reliance on China, seeking diverse trade and investment partners. The US, Japan, South Korea, and the EU are now key economic allies. Manila promotes itself as a prime destination for businesses de-risking from China. Domestic sectors like agriculture and renewable energy are being strengthened for self-sufficiency. The country eyes its own natural resources, like oil and gas in the Recto Bank, for energy independence. The goal isn't to cut off China, but to de-risk and build resilience. A diversified economy shields Manila from economic coercion. Economic strength complements military and diplomatic efforts. The Philippines is building an economic shield to match its strategic resolve. The Philippines has chosen courage, but the path is risky. Daily standoffs could escalate, and economic retaliation is a real threat. National unity and political will are essential to sustain this bold stance. The government must keep the public informed and united. Modernizing the armed forces and Coast Guard remains vital. Strong alliances and transparency are key to deterring aggression. Manila's story is now a beacon for all who value rules over might. The Philippines proves a middle power can defend its rights and sovereignty. This fight is for territory, and for the principles of global order. The courage shown in the West Philippine Sea inspires hope for free and open seas. The world is watching, and the Philippines stands as a symbol of resilience.